Is this how we're gonna start our spooky, scary podcast? With you eating chips and me debating why those chips are not barbecue chip flavored?
It doesn't. Okay. Is this really
Roll the intro music. Welcome back. Happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to the very first official Halloween Nerd Slice Spookcast. I am Hopper from Stranger Things Season 3 or Pablo Escobar, depending the way that you look at it.
We both know you're Pablo Escobar.
I bought the Hopper shirt. I like to be Hopper, but I've gotten more Pablo Escobar comments than Hopper comments, so to each their own. I am joined, as always, by Ohana Means Family, my co-host, my ghost
nobody gets
co-host.
You at least finish the fucking saying.
Ghost co-host. You can say Ohana now.
Hi.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
No, we're not doing. No, just go.
Welcome back, everyone. And today I thought we would take a more relaxed approach. It's Halloween. It's the spookiest day of the year. Unfortunately, 2020 is kind of ruined, has made things a little too spooky for everyone. But we are here, hopefully, to relieve that and kind of just talk about some scary stories that I've rounded up and also answer some spooky questions, some that you guys sent us and some that I just want Tono's mind that wanders off to answer. So, right off the bat, I thought something that would be...
We're going to rant, is what he's saying.
We're going to rant.
More like he's going to let me rant. So
we're gonna rant, and we're going to have our debates that are not really debates, but that are technically debates. Because, like, there's already one question.
It's just aggressively agreeing with each other.
Aggressive. No, you're the best. But yes, I thought a great way to start this off was just to read a little snippet of what the origin of Halloween is, just so we kind of get into the mood. So unless you've been living under a rock for the last however many years
millennia
this viewer is alive, on October 31st, we celebrate Halloween. Now, the tradition originated with the ancient Celtic... I'm reading this word for word, by the way. I did not memorize this. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor All Saints. Soon, All Saints Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening became known as All Hallows Eve, and then later on, Halloween. And then obviously over time, Halloween turned into Party City advertising their many, many costumes of provocative sexual exploits. So that's just a little snippet of Halloween.
So what he said is it became better.
That's up to perception. But because I mean, think about it. You know, Halloween started off as warding off ghosts, and now it's either someone dresses up as Tiger King or you have like a slutty Uno card. You know, like
listen, the ghost can get me at this point.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I have a question later that I know your direct answer to. But yeah, that's just the origin of Halloween. So nice little historical on Nerd Slice. You're gonna learn things. But then I brought up two other stories that I wanted to talk a little bit about because I know me and you have talked many times about this, and I just want to bring back the visceral fear that me and you have had throughout our childhoods. So the first one I'm going to start off with, which is, I think, one that a lot of people will consider to be one of the more famous scary internet stories. And, you know, if we want to get technical, Creepypasta is Slenderman. Now,
yeah.
You talked a little bit about Slenderman on a podcast that may or may not be released. Yeah. But I just wanted to go a little bit into where the origins came from and kind of our thoughts on whether Slenderman is here to stay, because it has to remain pretty relevant in the last few years, or if it's going to be something that dies out. So, for those who don't know, Slenderman began in 2009 when there was a competition asking for an idea for a modern myth, like a modern sort of scary myth to terrify people with. And one contributor, using the pseudonym Victor Surge, responded by putting two fake photographs from the mid 80s, 90s, 70s, it was around that, about this looming skinny figure behind these young kids. Now, this then, because the internet is the way it is, this then turned into a thing bigger than it was intended to be, because it was supposed to be a meme. It was supposed to be something that wasn't interpreted to be real. But eventually we got people then creating fan theories. Then they started creating sort of different short films about it. One of the more famous ones that I think you've talked a little bit about is Marble Hornets.
A little bit about.
And a little bit about, a lot about. But then we ended up getting some other theories. We ended up even getting a featured film that ended up being terrible. We got some games, and Slenderman kind of incorporated itself into pop culture. And it's interesting because then there were some repercussions with that. Obviously, I think I've talked about before the documentary that I watched, Beware the Slender Man. Just goes to show you that some people perceive that as a very corporal, surreal figure, and that's when it becomes an issue. So just something I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you want to chime in some of your thoughts, because I think Slenderman's an interesting concept.
I've already talked about this story. Slenderman, like when we were young, we were like at the peak of Slenderman. You could play the games. I think 8 Pages had just come out. Not the other Slenderman game where like it's a Slenderman game, but like halfway through, then you have to go into this warehouse and something, whatever. So 8 Pages has just come out, and it was like the big thing to play. We were playing it, and then we went to Halloween Horror Nights, and I had the most terrifying night of my life.
Which don't say it yet, because I have a question later, and I have a feeling that's gonna be one of your answers. But yes, Slenderman's now my question is
what? Oh, yeah, what's up?
We didn't have the context of, we know that there was a creator behind it, and this was just something you come across, would you have thought it was real?
Yeah.
Would you have 100%?
No, I wouldn't have 100%.
Oh, I heard you say.
No.
Okay.
I mean, if I would have just come through it, I would have been skeptical, because I'm skeptical about everything. Mm-hmm. Sorry. And like, if you really look at the pictures, it's very obviously photoshopped. It's like I would have been skeptical about it, but that's not the point. The point is that it kind of took its own thing in like popular media, and I think the thought of it was more scary than the actual, like, if it was a real thing, at least it would have been tangible. Like, what I'm trying to say is, for me, you kind of lose a bit of the terror when something is tangibly real.
You were talking about something being tangibly real, and as soon as you said that, my light went out, and I was like, wow, haunting. Continue.
There's kind of like for me, there's like this arc. Like, things are like terror filled
like
when they
arc?
I'm not gonna try to explain it. I always forget the name of it. But it's the same concept of, like, when they do CGI faces and you just know something is wrong and it kind of bothers you. It's the same type of thing for me, that the more there's two sides of the spectrum. The more scary is on one side, where it's not real, but like it's like the thought of it like potentially being real is the terror, and then on the other side where it's like the real thing and these people are horrible people. But Slenderman kind of became a thing where after a bit of time it started to become too much of like in the middle between real and unreal, and it lost its terror for me, and that's kind of where I would have been if I would have just come up to it on my own.
I get you. And yeah, there is an element of a lot of creepypastas, and even a lot of modern, I haven't caught up with a lot of modern creepypastas, but there was an element back then of having at least some sense of realism. And then Slenderman kind of just flipped that, because, before then we had Jeff the Killer, we had the Smiley Man, we had these other stories that kind of presented themselves as they could be real, because it was like just insane people and everyday things. But yeah, Slenderman kind of just. But I think it's something that's still going to be remembered as a pop culture horror icon.
Of course.
And I think it's just a matter of having that resurgence. I guarantee you, there's going to be something that propels it back. Maybe like a TV show or like a book series. Something's going to happen that's going to like propel it back. Maybe.
I disagree. I think that Slenderman's time has gone and has passed.
Well, only time will tell.
I mean, yeah, time will tell. But I think that Slenderman's limelight has officially, especially because of what happened with those girls and everything. I think that it was like the big moment where everyone was
Yeah,
like,
that was
okay,
a turning point.
okay, this is getting a little bit to be too much. So I mean, it might go back into the limelight, but as the world goes, I feel like the world will find something else to fill its place.
I get you. Now, moving on to one that I think hits me and you a little bit closer, and I threw this one in here on purpose.
Oh God.
So, Tono, you've talked before about your love for some older movies, including
Yeah.
Saw and Chucky, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh
So,
God.
what are your thoughts on Robert the Doll?
So it's funny because we're specifically in a very precarious position because Robert the Doll, I believe, is in Florida.
It's in the Keys. It's still there.
Yeah, it's
I
in
mean,
a museum in
I
Florida.
have to fact check, but
No. I'm
for
almost positive it's in the museum in Florida. And like, okay, I obviously like one side of my brain is like, of course it's not real. Like people are the way that people are. But then the other side of my brain that is like more artistic goes, man, there is just something creepy about things that are left behind.
yeah,
And
so
that's kind of where the doll inhibits in my
for
mental
those
energy.
who are not aware, and this is something that me and Thorne were exposed to because we had a teacher growing up that kind of liked horror stuff, so she would tell us this stuff. Mind
Yeah.
you, we were like what, like 12?
Yeah.
We were like 12. But basically Robert the Doll is, in a short context, because I don't remember the full story. It was a doll that was given to a kid by like one of his like
I
maids,
mean,
like
I
one of
can
the
tell the
caretakers
story
that
really
lived
quickly
there.
if you want.
I mean, do you have it?
No, I don't have it. I just remember it.
Yeah, if you want to throw it, because you'll probably
So
remember
real
more.
quickly, Robert the Doll was a doll that was given to a little kid. And what I remember the story, obviously, I say that I remember the story. I remember bits and pieces. Um, After the doll was given, the parents and I think the maid would hear the boy
The doll
talking.
talking.
No, it would hear
Yeah,
the
and
boy talking to something, and then sometimes they would hear the boy talking and then something else responding to it, and they thought, oh, it's just the kid doing a different voice. But then stuff started to be like displaced. Apparently the doll started to move, and like the entire like mythos started that this doll was alive, and it kind of came to a head. I believe the story goes that something happened, something bad happened, and the kid was the person that did it, and he kept on saying, oh, Robert made me do it, Robert made me do it. And I think that was kind of like the turning point, and I think the doll was left in that house.
the doll was
And
like left like in the attic for a while,
yeah,
and then what I remember after that was that the kid ended up growing up but still living in that house, and then he gave it to like his kid,
you see,
and then it was like the same scenario, but then the wife was like, nah, this doll
so
is way too creepy, and that's when I think it got
I
put
remember
in
the
the
story
museum.
a little differently. I think it was that they left the house, and then when
Maybe.
new people came in, they would hear voices in the attic, and they searched through it. They found this doll, and I think the story started all over again with another child. Pretty much, if you've ever watched the movie Annabelle, Annabelle is based heavily on Robert the Doll.
What's
So
crazy about Robert the Doll is because obviously it's like a creepy pasta, but it is one of those scenarios where it is based off some factual things because you can see the doll.
yeah,
The doll, like
the
we
doll
mentioned, it's in the
100%
keys.
existed, and so did the family, and so did the events of the little boy. Like all
And
of those things happened,
there are instances that
but
have been very interesting to say the least involving the doll. There's a lot of like stipulations that they say with the doll, like you have to say hello to it. Apparently that's like a big thing. You have to say
yeah,
like hello to the doll.
you have to say hello to the
And
doll, and the other thing is you cannot take a picture of it.
now here's
Um,
where things get interesting because I had a good friend of mine where he went maybe like 5 years ago and he didn't even know about the story of the doll. Like he happened to be at the museum and apparently like he walked by the doll and he got like a creepy feeling. And but whatever, like he didn't, like he just walked by it. It wasn't like
yeah.
he knew the story. It wasn't like he saw the sign that said like say hello. And when he got home on his phone, there was a picture of the doll and he freaked out. Now, mind you, I don't know how accurate that story is.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with these type of stories, and this is the other side of my brain talking, is we as humans like to make connections when connections don't exist, and once we're given something to latch onto, like the mythos of this doll, we kind of make excuses for it.
Exactly.
And so, do I believe that the doll is real? I mean, it's real. It's a real tangible thing, but I don't think
It's an
it's
object.
haunted.
It's real.
I don't think it's
Now,
haunted. Now, if I ever go to the museum, I am. For me, it's always trust but verify, which is I will always respect the fuck out of that doll, because the opposite of me not saying hello to a doll is potentially me getting murdered by that doll. So
yeah,
it does
dolls are
nothing for me to
scary.
say hi to it. You know what I mean?
Dolls are scary, and I'm sorry if you like dolls. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna vibe with you. Dolls are just creepy to me. Specifically, like those type of dolls, like
Certain dolls.
mid-century. Like, don't
Certain
get me wrong.
dolls
If
are
you have,
creepy.
yeah, if you have like a Winnie the Pooh, like that's fine. But like if you have like a mid-century like porcelain doll collection, I'm not coming over to your house.
Yeah,
But
mm-mm.
that's I just want to touch on that one because that's one that's a little bit closer to home for us, especially since we live in the state where it's
Yeah.
currently held. Now, the next two questions, or I guess stories, whatever you want to call them, we have from some viewers. So the first one we have, it's a little bit more lighthearted. We have a question from Dylan Moore asking, not really spooky related, but what are your thoughts on the Batman comic, The Long Halloween? What else would Nerd Slice be without throwing a Batman thing in there? So, Tono, have you read The Long Halloween first off?
I have read it a very long time ago, so I don't
very,
remember
very
all of
brief
it.
synopsis, and I'm excited because Long Halloween is getting an animated adaptation from
Oh, is
Warner
that the one
Brothers.
with Calendar Man?
Yes, that is the
Okay.
only time
All
that they
right.
have made Calendar Man a
All right.
badass villain in DC.
I think that's
But
good.
it's basically follows the concept of it's a very young Batman, very like I think it's year 2 Batman, and he is following a string of murders that only happen on certain days. And this goes on for like a year, and it's this whole mystery of like who is it? And like I said, this is fresh Batman. So there's a few Batman villains like Cobblepot, Penguin,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Catwoman's prevalent. This is also one of the story. Once again, the story came out like in the 80s, so it's not like a new, like when Batman first started. But in this mythos, this is also like the first time that Batman encounters Joker.
yeah.
And there's a bunch of villains that are kind of at the center of this whole thing, even though they're not the mastermind of it. So very interesting story, and I'm very excited because it is supposedly one of the reference points for the Robert Pattinson Batman that's coming out. So it's not a direct adaptation, but it does take, and I can kind of see where it's at. So I'm excited for it as Donald stares into my soul. And
I would like to say more about it, but honestly, like I haven't read it in a really long time. I was planning on reading it before the new Batman movie came out, but it's just not something I've touched in a while.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one. And I think I was gonna do a podcast one of these days of kind of like comic Batman sort of comics that people should read, you know, just to get people into it. But that's for another day. But our second question here comes from Aesthetica, and I'm glad she brought this one up because this is one I've been seeing a lot too.
Here we go.
Thoughts on the creepypasta about the Russian sleep experiment?
That one is creepy.
Now this one, you should know. So once again, context for this one, and then as always, Donald can chime in if there's anything I left out. The Russian sleep experiment is basically, I need to look up the actual year. That's the one thing I don't remember. It was in the 40s. That's where it was.
So
the story takes place in the 40s. The creepypasta came out like in 2010.
The big thing with the creepypasta, while I give time for Evan to look it up, is the picture that came with it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, if you've been around the internet, you've seen this picture, which is like, if you're a YouTube watcher, thanks for watching on YouTube. We really appreciate it. You'll see the picture. You'll see the picture. It's on right now. It's like this golem looking motherfucker. I'm sorry. That he it looks like a skeletal human who's like a golem. It's creepy as hell, and he's in like, it's like what is it called, night vision, and you just see his face, and it's like a not a smiling face,
it's like a face of someone who's going maddening. Now, the interesting concept about it, which is something that even to this day is kind of still something that's
I searched up that picture and it's gonna haunt me. Fuck.
It gives you chills.
Yeah,
the basic idea is the concept of sleep. and what it is that sleep does to you. So the Russian sleep experiment was a creepypasta that it basically deals with a study that they did like in the 40s where they wanted to keep subjects awake for 30 consecutive days. Now, this was in a prison, so these were all people that were kind of going to be sentenced to death, or they didn't really have anything to lose. But they were promised that, quote unquote, if they did the experiment, they would be set free. Now, obviously in the first few days, everything was going okay. Like people were getting sleep deprived and all that. But as the days went on, they started going slowly and slowly insane to the point where like by like day 15, there was cannibalism involved. There were people tearing off their own flesh. What didn't help also was that in these experiments, in order to keep them awake, they would pump the rooms with gas to keep them stimulated, to keep them awake. And apparently, the biggest thing about this is that when one of the patients was about to die and all that, that he's kept buttering how there was like an evil inside of him. And after he was dying, his dying breath on the floor was so nearly free. And let me tell you, there are very few creepypastas that after I read them, I kind of just sit there. That's one of them.
I will agree with you. That like I read a lot of creepypastas because I'm usually on that side of the internet. I mean, you've probably heard me talk about unfiction a lot, which is kind of that side. When I read the Russian sleep experiment, first of all, I came to the Russian sleep experiment not knowing it was a creepypasta. You're asking about the Slenderman thing. I actually came to the Russian sleep experiment because of the prison experiment. That was an actual thing that happened. And then there was this thing called the Russian sleep experiment. So I was like, oh, cool, like another experiment. This other one was so cool to read. Let me read this one. And this one disconcerted the fuck out of me. I saw the picture and I was like, I'm not okay. And then, so if you know anything about how sleep affects someone, there's been tests done that sleep is a very important thing, obviously. So if you're kept not asleep for a very long time, you do start to lose your sanity. Not your sanity, but your body starts to break down because it can't function without proper rest. And like I'm gonna mention a horrible experiment, but there was actually an experiment done on puppies or dogs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is gonna get real dark. It's Halloween. You came for this. So they kept the dogs up, and then after about 8 days, the dogs just died. And it's a super sad story. But the process that they got from this, mind you, I'm pretty sure that experiment was done a hell of a long time ago when there wasn't a lot of things to get in the way. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying product of another time. But the conclusion was that without sleep, our bodies naturally just shut off. So knowing that, and then going and reading the Russian sleep experiment, in my head, I'm like, oh, well then, this is real. I'm terrified. And then obviously, like, as I was searching a little bit more, I found out it was a creepypasta. But that first initial, it was fucking terrifying. And that picture, even to this day, haunts the living fuck out of me.
Yeah, and it's definitely, once again, I think some of the scariest creepypastas and just stories in general are ones that are, like I said, steeped in some sort of reality. Because, like I said, that based off the fact that the story takes place in the 40s, which obviously was towards the end of World War II and all that, like it is something that you could definitely see happening. Like there's a lot of things like you mentioned that back then, you can get away with. So that's that. Like I said, I think that's a good, very good question, Aesthetic. And if there's any more creepypastas you guys want to send our way or have us talk about, definitely let us know. These are just some of the more popular ones and some of the ones that I just want to talk about. There's a bunch of other popular ones we could talk about. Jeff the Killer, Smiling Dog, the Smiling Man. There's a bunch of them, but we're not moving on to a slightly... Momo terrifies me. Just
okay. That I'm gonna ask a real quick question. I'm gonna sidetrack us for a second.
Go for it.
Does something scare? So a lot of these creepypastas come with pictures. When I saw the Slenderman pictures, it was like disconcerting, but it wasn't scary. I find that the things that scare me the most are when you take a human face and
warp
distort it. And Momo scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah, Momo is one of those creepypastas where every so often it pops into my head and I just need to like stop and be like, terrifying.
I'm no longer like that because I know what Momo is. Momo is actually an art installation.
Yeah. Which
is crazy to me.
I think it's Korean. I don't remember where it's from, but yeah, it's an Asian art piece that just someone took a photo and it just blew up. But
just think, what scares me the most is not that it exists now. It's the thought of someone made that. So someone thought of making something. It's just fucking.
Well, art is subjective.
But if that pops into your head, you need to go to therapy.
But I mean, to each their own, man. People thought that Van Gogh was crazy. You know, look at him now. But moving on to a more lighthearted section, I've rounded up a list of sort of Halloween-themed questions/stories that we can talk about and kind of just, delve into our experience with spookiness. So some of these were sent from people. Some of these I kind of just found and just threw them on a list. So we're going to start off with a very easy one. What is your favorite Halloween-themed song?
The Halloween theme song.
Like the actual, like...
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
I gotta go, very obvious pick, I don't care, my podcast, Nightmare Before Christmas, This Is Halloween, followed by Jack's Lament. Jack's Lament, food for the soul.
If we're giving a second place, Monster Mash for me is the second place.
You did the mash.
Exactly, it's a classic.
But yes.
Yeah, those would be my two songs. I mean, I really just love the Halloween theme song, the Halloween movie theme song. For me, it's just something that I play like on a Spotify playlist. It's a banger, dude.
Every Halloween, I listen to. I don't know why. This is a tradition I've been doing since I was like in like sophomore year. I find dubstep remixes of Halloween music. And I just listen to them. So I have one for This Is Halloween. I have one for Michael Myers theme. I have one for the Jason Voorhees theme.
Dude.
I have one for Monster Mash, and I have one for Thriller. And I used to do it in my car. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen this year, but like that's my thing.
I feel like that would be hilarious, just like the with a breakdown. Dude, I would be driving. If you ever see me driving and I am just losing it, like dancing, that's what I'm listening to.
But yeah, second question. I'm curious for yours. I don't know what you're gonna say. I have my answer. What do you think would be the scariest thing to run into in a forest? You can go like surreal too. If you want to be like
you go
Cthulhu
first.
Standing in a.
You go first.
I think I've talked about this before. Maybe. Mine would be a cult. Cults terrify me. I do not mess with cults at all. There is something. If I am in a forest by myself. And I turn a corner, and there's like 9 robed figures chasing me, I'm just gonna drop dead on the spot.
I would honestly just laugh at that if there was 9. If they were just standing there looking at me, that would be more creepy for me. I don't really know the answer because like for me it's super subjective. What would be creepy? I mean, it would be creepy to like run into some random ass person in the woods. It'd be creepy to run into like something not humanoid or something over humanoid in the woods. It's just fucking creepy. The woods is a bad place. The woods is a bad place.
Like right now, Donald. Right now, you get teleported to the woods, like ReZero style. You're teleporting the roots. What is the one thing that is in the forest that you're like, no, I'm out, I'm done.
My own existential mortality. I mean. What like if I'm being straight, like a bear, I'd be fucking terrified if I saw
just in the middle of the night. You
like I get teleported and a bear's in front of me. Yes, I'd be fucking or a mountain lion. Those shits fucking are beasts.
Right. The next question I have will be a little bit more straightforward then for you. Bono, are ghosts real?
Ew.
It's a very simple question.
It's not a very simple question.
In your opinion, do you think ghosts are real?
You go first. I need to frame this.
Well, you know my answer. I think they are. I do think there's some limitations with that, though. Obviously, like I do think that it's crazy to think that we live in a world where there's aliens and there's all these phenomenon that we can't explain, and to
I
not
mean,
think of the concept of
but we
life
can
after death.
explain aliens.
No, I get it,
The
but you get what I mean.
probability
Like
of us being the
we
only
live,
sentient, yeah, I get it.
yeah, but we live in a world where there's things that we're just finding out now. We're finding out these things that were considered different phenomenon. I don't see why ghosts can't be real.
Do
Now,
I
mind
think
you, like
ghosts
I
are
said,
real?
there's
No,
different contexts with that. But yeah, you go, you chime in.
I don't think the ghosts in the natural sense are real. I don't think that when someone passes away that they become a vengeful or a spirit that stays. I kind of have mine is a little bit based in science, which is the weirdest fucking thing. So when we think, right? When we think, we use energy to think. We set off electrical impulses in our brain that, through its wide variety of things, is what causes us to function and think. I think that I think that when we expend that energy, like I'm doing right now, I think that energy can go into the ethereal, like world, and I think that energy can culminate into something. I don't think ghosts are real because of someone. I think what we leave behind. I believe ghosts are real with the things we leave behind. I would pose that Robert is more real than a ghost of me being a vengeful spirit.
Yeah, and like I
Because
said, I definitely think there's some cutoffs and there's like some stipulations that go involved in it. Like, I don't think that ghosts then can access these like supernatural powers that will
yeah,
allow them. Like, I do think there's certain stipulations in there. Like I said, there's always studies being done and all that. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's your opinion. You know, it's like
yeah.
some people are very, very into the whole idea that ghosts are real. Some people are like, it's not possible. And I get it. Obviously, I see both sides, honestly.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like I put mine in a scientific frame of mind, just because I feel like that's the best. But like, you believe in what you believe. If you don't believe in ghosts, like, you're probably the more uh smarter person than us. It's just, I believe that the energy we expend gets solidified into things. I think things can have ghosts. I don't think people become ghosts. So, like, for example, I think a house, an abandoned house, can have a ghost because of the energy expended there, and the fact that it's abandoned. The fact that it has to stay without that energy being given to it again and again. It's a really weird topic for me.
Yeah,
Um,
man, don't worry. I've watched Hill House too, man. I believe you. Don't worry.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I love Hill House. Kind of sticking with the ghost theme. I feel like I know your answer for this one. Have you ever, or will you ever, use a Ouija board?
I've used a Ouija board before. Have you actually
I
used
would
it
never.
multiple
No,
times? I've
no.
actually used
I'm
it
like,
multiple times. I
I can't. I'm like you. I don't believe in the concept of tempting fate. And even if it's
yeah,
not fate, why would I take the chance of something that
of
is
course,
known
of
to
course.
bring you physical or mental,
I mean,
harm? No thanks. I tap out.
I
I'm
mean,
okay.
I get where you're coming from. A Ouija board, like, there is that connotation. I've used the Ouija board before. I've used it like 6 times. Um, I don't think it works. It's either that, or if it works, it just, they don't want to talk to me. Because,
They're like, this guy's dealing with his own problems. We're gonna let him be.
yeah, it's like, this guy has his own demons. We don't want to add anymore. But I mean, I've used it like, I used it like 3 times by myself, just because I was bored, and I was like, why not try? Nothing happened, and then when I used it with 2 other people, something happened, and it was like, yeah, I get what's happening here. Like,
I like how you said because you were bored. It's like there's so many things you can do when you're bored, and you're like, let me just summon a demon.
I was in the mood of just like absolutely terrifying myself. Okay, like, you never get in the mood
Get
of,
it.
you know what? I think I want to, like,
No,
like the way that
I'm the
I think
same
about it. The way
person.
that I
I'm the
think about
same
it is, like,
person
if
in
I'm
the
gonna
horror movie.
die, I might as well die to a demon.
No,
Like,
I'm the same person in the horror movie when everyone's like, guys, let's go to that old abandoned shack. I'm like, why? Why
No,
would you
yeah.
do
I'm the same. I'm like, people are like, oh, let's do this. And I'm like, how about we get back into our car and get the fuck out of here? Not because I think anything's gonna happen, but what if it does?
I get you. And now these next two, we're just gonna speed round them. Very quick answers. What's your biggest fear? Don't go existential. Don't be like the loneliness of my heart. Just do you have like
No,
a surreal
heights.
fear?
Heights. I
Heights?
fucking
That's
hate
fair.
heights.
Um,
I
yeah,
don't like them.
that's fair. Like I'll give you that. I know that's a common one, and I know that that's a lot of people's thing. I don't really have one at the moment. I've talked about how my fear of clowns was a big thing for a while, but that's slowly sort of diminishing. So other than that, I don't really have like a
I
surreal
mean, I think everyone
cults.
has a fear of something.
Cults,
Uh,
I guess.
I mean, yeah, that would be scary. But I think
Yeah,
everyone has a fear of death. I mean, at the end of the day, everything
no,
is
of
just a
course.
fear of death. Actually, I think Vsauce, which is a YouTuber,
Vsauce,
did
Michael here.
yeah that one did a episode about what everyone is afraid of, and I think the answer he came to was like suffocation. I think
I can see
everyone
that.
is
I
naturally
think because
afraid of
people, I
suffocating.
think that's because people, that's like people's worst way to go. Because it's
No,
like they
because
also did that. They did that study of whether people would rather be burned alive or drowned, and people picked burned more than drowned because they
uh,
didn't like the feeling of drowning and suffocating.
yeah, but
So I could see that.
I think the way that he proved it was there's this rare disease that makes it that you don't fear anything, like you're just not afraid of anything. You can't feel that emotion. And what they did
Cool.
is that they with the consent of the people and in a very like safe environment, they put these people that had this rare disease into a variety of tests on what they were afraid of. And the only thing that their body would naturally create the hormone for fear was suffocation.
Yeah, because it's the body shutting down. It makes
Yeah.
sense. But that's good that you have a fear.
There you go. Like I said, the more like Evan taught you creepy pauses, I'm teaching you science. The more you know.
And let's move on to this one. Favorite horror icon.
Stephen King.
Not really the way I thought you were gonna go with that. Cool. Michael Myers for me.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna go with a monster, but like, you gotta give it to Stephen King, man. That dude is fucked up in the head.
Dude, that dude. I mean, when you have
Like,
when you make a whole chapter about child orgies, you know that there's some stuff going on in there.
all right,
So
you can't just say that and not explain it.
you don't know that they're like in the actual book of
No,
it,
in
like
the
the book
actual
for
It
it.
book,
There is a scene in which the kids quote unquote bond together closer by being sexually active. Mind you, they're kids. They're like 12.
this
I'm
is the
not.
first movie of
I don't know.
It, by the way.
Once again, I'm sure it's not the movie. Thank God. I'm
No,
sure that I haven't read the book. I haven't
I
read the book.
have. I
I'm
have.
sure there's more context
No,
behind it.
there's not. There's really not. It
Got
is
it.
the
Glad,
weirdest fucking thing in the world.
glad that was
It just
settled.
happens. And like there's reasons why it happens, but like there is no good reason that you could stop in the middle of that book and be like, yeah, now they all have sex.
And you're just there, like interesting.
Yeah, you're like
What
creepy
urban
clowns, got
legends?
it.
What urban legend scares you the most, or did
Scares
scare
me?
you the most? I think this is the only one when I thought of this question that came to mind, just because I remember it growing up, which was Bloody Mary.
Okay.
But like I said, that was kind of the only urban legend I kind of remember being exposed to a lot too. Other than that, I can't really think of a lot of urban
I mean,
legends that kind of.
back when I was young, I would hear like stories of La Llorona. Not
I
the
didn't hear
movie.
that one until I got older, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about it, and to tell you the truth, that one creeped me out. And it's like the same. Like I can't remember the exacts of La Llorona. I just remember being scared of it. I'm pretty sure it's like the same concept as Bloody Mary.
Yeah, it's like mother with child that was
Yeah,
abandoned and then vengeful. It's up to La Llorona is also one of these ones that it's like etched in Hispanic culture. So like different countries have different variations of it and different representations of it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Bloody Mary, La Llorona. I
I
can't say
mean,
it a third time. I've already said Bloody Mary. Ah, I almost said it a third time. Can't
it's
say it a third time.
like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
This question's basically for me, unless you want to chime in. Favorite Halloween candy? Yeah, I mean, if you want to throw it in there, you can throw it in there. What about Halloween treat for you? Do you have like a Halloween treat?
What are they gonna give me? So for the people who are uninitiated, I hate chocolate. I hate no. Let me back up. I hate all candy. Like I don't like it. Like you can be like, oh, but why? Like I just don't like it. Whenever I eat something like it, I just throw it back up. My body does not accept candy, and I don't know why. And it's like the worst because everyone's like, oh, let's go trick or treating, and everyone like loves or has like great memories of trick or treating, and I'm like, I just want to stay home.
Mine's
Yeah,
Milky Way. I'll make mine simple. I like Milky Way and Three Musketeers.
those
Um,
are good choices. I
they
think.
are good choices, man. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
like you're not the best representation of that, but
dude.
what do you think has been the most you've ever been scared? I had to think about this one too.
I mean, there's a few times. I mean, we're talking about specifically for horror, right? Like in the horror environment, not
Yeah,
like
like what do you
because
think?
you know how I get sometimes.
Yeah, not like
Got it,
am I
got it, got it.
overthinking this?
We're not gonna go into the existential horror that is my life. I mean, I probably would have about three different cases that I would say I was in the same level of just terror. Um, which I mean, if we're gonna list them off, one that morning. So a quick story, like the quick version of the story because I've told it before. We played the Slenderman game. We went to Halloween Horror Nights. We were all staying in the same like room apartment like before Airbnb, but like that. And I woke up and I couldn't move. Like I just couldn't move, but I know I was awake. And I looked down the hallway because we were sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags, and I swore I could see Slenderman just standing there staring at me, and I was in pure terror for 3 hours. And people are like, "Oh, you were probably going through sleep paralysis and stuff, something like that." But to not be able to move and to just be laying there for 3 hours staring, and I couldn't get back to sleep. Obviously, I just that was horror. Um, then the second one was watching The Conjuring because demons. I mean, I don't even know why. Like it shouldn't have affected me the way that it did, but I remember turning to the girl I was on a date with and going like, I need to leave. Because every time
Not
something
okay.
happened, I was hiding under the chair. I was so scared. And then the third one was my freaking idiot friends were like, "Hey, let's take our camera gear and go to a haunted, not a haunted, but like an abandoned like hospital in Orlando." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Um, so I'm there, and I have like my camera, and I'm like set up. I have it on a gimbal. I'm like vibing. I'm with my other friend, and my flashlight dies. And
Yes.
his flashlight is still on.
Yes.
And I was like, I just put like batteries in this. Like I make listen, if I'm going to a haunted whatever, I'm putting new batteries in everything. My flashlight dies, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not scared. I'm just very disconcerted right now. So I'm holding the gimbal, and if you've ever seen a gimbal, it's just a very heavy piece of equipment. So it's not like I could very easily like whatever. So I go, okay, I take the light off my head and I go, here, Jason, can you fix my light? And he goes, yeah, of course. So he goes and you know when you're trying to fix something like in the dark, you point your flashlight at that thing.
Yeah.
So while that was happening, I was like, okay, I'm okay. But all around me is dark because he's pointing his flashlight straight at the ground. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Now, if you know cameras, you know that cameras can go over what the human eye can see if you put them at a certain level. So I turned my camera to the highest level so that I could see in front of me in the dark. It's not night vision. My hair's not listening to me. It's not night vision, but it's like you can see in the dark. And I'm good with my camera. And there's this thing called focus assist, which is a red dots that tell you where your focus is. And my focus decided that it was going to move, the red dots were going to move in a straight line as if I was focusing on someone walking across from one side of the hallway to the other. And as this happened, and my brain kind of conceptualized it, and it goes, all right, think about it, Tono. Is that possible to happen on your camera that you've used for the last 6 years? And I go, no, that's not possible. And I looked at my friend Jason and I go, hey, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I kid you not, I ran. I jumped down 3 flights of stairs with like 20 pounds in one arm. And Jason's like, what's happening? And I go, nope. And I'm just running. And like, you can hear my running throughout the hospital or whatever. And all my friends come running out and they're like, what happened? And I go, okay. And I explained it to them. And I go, okay, I finished the recording and I went to go play it over because I needed to make sure that something happened. And that recording, the only recording in the entire night, the only one, that recording gets corrupted.
You can never you never have like a simple answer for anything, do you, bro? You always got like 6-page thesis. I love it.
I mean, but like you have to understand the story. Like,
no, I get it. Creepy abandoned place with all of your equipment that has never malfunctioned before starts malfunctioning for no reason. I get it.
No, I mean, my camera malfunctions. Like, my camera sometimes, like, drops footage. That's fine. But the fact that all of these things happen simultaneously, like, I obviously sat down afterwards and I was like, okay. It was probably, like, some form of dust that my camera picked up. Jason was moving around, so that probably kicked something up, and that was the focus. My flashlight, what had happened was that somehow the turn, like, you know those flashlights that you turn and to engage the batteries, it's some like I was like fumbling with it, and it somehow became untwisted, which is natural. And my camera just dropped the footage. But all 3 of those things happening at the same time and being in an overall, like, not okay environment, I was like, okay, I'm going home. Y'all can go, like fuck off. I am going home because I am not in a good place right now. And I remember I couldn't get to sleep that night because I was mad terrified.
I'm gonna say it again. You always gotta have like 6-page thesis. You never got like a what were you scared the most? When I was a kid, I went to Hornets and the guy scared me. Yeah, that's not my answer, by the way. I wish that was my answer. No, I mean, I had something similar. I went to, I don't even know how to explain this. It's like, it was like a farm, but it was like a family friend's farm. I don't remember, but we stayed there for a day. And I remember it was like these kids who are very like, the very definition of like not city at all. Like they were very like, they know the same group of friends. They kind of do the same things, but you know, they were really excited to like hang out with me. And I was like 11 or 12. And they were like, oh, like we want to show you this cool place. And I was like, cool. And they took me, and I shit you not, it was like a 10-minute ATV drive away from that house. And it's just this old, like 2-story burnt down wooden house. And my first reaction was,
nope.
Oh. So they're like, yeah, what do you think about this place? It's really creepy, right? Me being the team that I was said, yeah, let's go inside. And like I said, I am the type of person where it's like, there's not a lot of things that, you know, you get these stories about people that kind of have these like sixth senses and kind of have these like feelings of like dread and all that. That was, I think, the only time in my life where I genuinely felt uneasy. Like I genuinely felt on edge. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was just like, okay, you know how that moment where we always joke where in Phasmophobia, as soon as you enter the house, there's like a,
yeah,
and everything just goes quiet. That was me when I entered that house. And let me tell you, straight up like a horror movie, I would step, there was creaks, spider webs everywhere. Mind you, I didn't see like anything happen in the house, but it was just that feeling that it gave me. Like every sense in my body was telling me like, dude, why are you in here? Get out. So that's mine. I made mine short. simple to the point. But yeah,
I mean, you have me on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. We're
do
gonna do
the
lightning
long
round for
form.
the next few questions. Make this one simple. Which horror movie would you not want to be in? Really, my guy? You don't have like one that I'll tell you mine right off the bat. Alien. Nope. Not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna be in space in a spaceship isolated, and there's a giant 9-foot, alien looking thing with a tongue that spits out. No. Count me out. I tap out.
I mean, I would probably pick something more like.
It's what would you not like? What horror movie would you not want to be in?
I would probably be a tie between The Strangers and The House That Jack Built.
I like The House That Jack Built. I like that answer. I understand that.
Then we'll go to that one.
Yeah, I get it. And like I said, it goes to the end of the day where we always talk about the scariest things are the ones that can actually happen. So I understand your reasoning for those. Keeping to the horror movie, which horror movie stereotype do you think you would be? Come on, my guy. You're keeping us quiet.
I mean,
I'll say mine.
Say yours. Like after you ask me a question.
I will be in my opinion, you know how there's always either the conspiracy theorist or like the real one. Like I said, the guy that like when everyone's like, this is all happening, the guy's just there like, are you guys joking? Like, do you like the murderer just murdered our friend and you're like, we have a baseball bat, we can fight him? That's me. That's the one I would be. I would be the realist. So I don't think I would be the I don't think I would be the hero. That's for sure. I don't think I would be the one that's like, let's fight Michael Myers. No.
So
survival.
Does it say a lot about me that I thought you meant killer? I was like, do I want to be the psychopath or the slasher? No, I'd probably be like I'd probably be the first one that dies, honestly.
Which stereotype do you think you'd be? Victim number one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the guy that like when stuff happens, I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna go first, and then I know for a fact I'm gonna open that door and a knife is gonna go through me, and the first one that dies.
Yeah, and I thought you would say that. That's why I knew. So we have another simple one. What's the favorite Halloween costume you've ever done before? Right off the bat, I think the one that speaks to me, you'll remember this one, was I think in like first grade I dressed up as Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was like I had the purple cape, I had the dual disc, but like I had like a plastic Yu-Gi-Oh! Mask, and it just looked so bizarre. But it's like, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the thing back then, but it was just funny because it's like the rest of the outfit looked dope, but I had this like stereotypical Party City plastic Yu-Gi-Oh! Mask with spiky hair on, and I don't know why. I always thought that costume was like funny. What about you?
I'm gonna say something real sad. I never really dressed up for Halloween.
You kind of dressed up. I remember.
No, I mean, I when I was young, I would dress up, but like I really never dressed up for Halloween because everyone went trick or treating and I didn't. So there was really no reason for me to dress up. I mean, if I had to choose one from when I was older and going to parties instead, I was Luigi. Wow. And people were like, where's Mario? And I'm like, listen, if you ever fucking talk to me about Mario, I'm gonna murder you. So like, I was murdering Luigi.
I am Luigi.
Yes.
Not
Luigi
you.
Is the better brother.
Don't ask me about Mario. No, I'm talking as you that you were like, I'm Luigi.
Exactly.
They can't be asking you where Mario is because you're not about that. You're about Luigi. Would you ever stay in a haunted house?
Would I ever stay in a haunted house? Absolutely.
Here's my thing. And I think this is what plays into the factor, whether I know it's a haunted house or not. Because let's be honest, you get these movies like, I don't want to say Hill House, because Hill House, they didn't really, you get these other movies where it's like, I'm a struggling author. I'm going to stay at this house that there was 65 murders at. What could go wrong? And I'm like, yeah, no wonder you die at the end of the movie. You're stupid. It's like, why would you do that? Or it's like, I think I would only ever stay in a haunted house if it was like, one, I can't be by myself. I got to be with my friends. I got to be with the boys, and we got to make jokes about it. Because if I'm going to be, crapping my pants the whole night. We gotta at least have fun with it.
Oh, I agree. I'm not going by myself.
Fernie's the sacrifice.
Yes. Yes. Bless up. Yes.
We have another pretty simple question here.
Right.
If you had to have a magic element, which element would it be? I'm gonna keep mine simple. Ice.
How does that have to do with Halloween?
Because it's like elements, magic, spookiness. I say ice.
Any element? I would probably do Earth. Because ice is cool. Ice is cool, but like if you can control the Earth, you can like do whatever the hell you want.
I get you. We have another thing that I know is going to turn into like a 10-minute story time. Has anything supernatural ever happened to you?
I mean, I just went on a 10-minute rant.
You went yours, so I'll say mine. I saved mine for this one. So like I said, I'm the type of person where I try to keep my mind open to things, but I'm also I try to keep things realistic because it's like you said, sometimes there are very easy explanations for things, but there was this one thing that happened where to this day I still try to wrap my head around what happened and what could have happened. So I was around, I want to say 12 years old, 13 years old. So this was around the time where it was like finally I was like home alone. It was like my parents trusted me enough to like not burn the house down. And so I was home alone, and like my thing would be either like I would be in my room playing like my games, or I would be in the TV room, watching a movie or whatever. And I remember this one night, like 11:30 at night, I was in my living room, right? And for context, in my living room there's the TV like in the middle, and then behind me there's the doors that lead outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just like any lighting works in real life, when you turn the TV off, it will the black image will act and show what's behind you. Now, when I turned the TV off, in that instance, I saw like a figure walk by, like someone walked by, right? Now, mind you, at first I wasn't scared because I had rationality, right? My first instinct was, oh, it's my brother, because my brother lives next door.
Mm.
So, in my head, I'm like, oh, my brother probably came to get something from the shed, or he came to grab something. So I call my brother and I go, hey, bro, did you just go in the backyard? And he goes, no, we're not home right now. Why? And I was like, nothing, don't worry about it. And like, here's the thing that I tried to wrap my head around. At this point, I had a dog, right? My dog barks at anyone that she doesn't know. My dog would have barked if someone was there. Like I said, it wasn't my parents because my parents were out of town. It wasn't my brothers. It's not like, someone that I knew just randomly popped into my backyard that my dog would recognize. So it was one of those things where like I remember that for the longest time because it was one of those things where I could never find an explanation for it. Now this is the part where Donald chimes in and goes, so Evan, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like one time I left the basketball at your house and I had to go in the middle of the night to get it. And but yeah, there was that.
If I would have done that, if I would have done that, I would have worn a costume and just looked at you through the window. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, for me, that has to be one of the most terrifying things if that ever were to happen to me. Like I'm just like chilling and then I look at a window and someone just staring at me through it. I'd be like, just kill me at this moment because I'm about to die of a heart attack.
That's kind of the only thing I thought of, honestly. Like I think there was one other thing, but I'm sure there was like a logical explanation where it was like one time I was staying at I was on vacation and it was like I was sleeping on the couch because that's where like the kids slept. And like the TV just turned on, but like the remote was nowhere near the TV. Like the TV was the remote was like, but it's like, yeah, that's one of those things where it's like I'm sure there's a logical explanation, but I was just like, as a kid, you're just like, whoa, demons.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have any other supernatural things, or you already tapped out?
I mean, I have some of those experiences where it's like something happens that you're like, okay, that's a little scary. But I went on the real one that scared the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah, I don't know if this counts. I don't think this is supernatural. I just think it's more coincidental. One time I was having a nightmare, and it was like this like figure was whispering to me.
Oh,
but the thing is, I have a fan in my room that's like on rotation, and as the thing whispered in my dream, the fan hit my ear, and I bolted up. I was like, oh nope. It was just like one of those, like I said, I don't think that was supernatural. I just think that's more coincidental. But like, I needless to say, I did not go back to sleep that night. But moving on to another sort of, we only got like 3 or 4 questions here. Is there an unsolved murder or series of murders that sort of intrigues you? I have mine.
I mean, there's a couple. I mean, we'll be here forever if we go
The
into
thing is,
unsolved
I'm not
mysteries.
like a super like I know that that's like a thing now. People are getting into like the whole like this person was never found. My whole thing is the one that I've always been intrigued by was Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper
Yeah.
to me was one of those things where it's like there's so many things, and obviously, like obviously they didn't have the technology that we do at the time. So it's one of those things where it's like maybe he would have been caught if it was like modern day Jack the Ripper, but I don't know. I just something about that, just it makes you want to think like what was the motive? Because a lot of these modern day, you kind of see like a pattern. You see this thing, but Jack the Ripper is one of those things where like, what's the motive there? Like, what was
I mean, no,
was
there
it
was a
one
pattern for
person?
him.
Was it?
All
It
of
was
them
women.
all of them, yeah, all of them were women. Most of them were
Yeah.
prostitutes.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, was Jack the Ripper? Now there's even like theories and stuff that Jack the Ripper was more than one person. That it was like a group of people that just had
There's another
hatred
theory
towards.
that it was a woman.
So like I
No
said,
one
it's
will
just
know
one of
what
those.
Jack the Ripper is.
It's
Yeah,
those.
it's an
It's
interesting
the
one.
mysterious factor. So that's mine. Do you have one that comes to
I
mind? Or like
mean,
you said,
there's a couple. There's like, I could go on and on. The ones that kind of creep me out the most are the ones that like there's no explanation. Like even if they found the body, there's just no explanation on what happened.
I do need to watch the new season of Unsolved Mysteries because I hear this season they got a lot of different cool things. Because like I said, that first episode me and you saw still baffles me of like what happened, like
Exactly.
what occurred.
Yeah.
But once again, Netflix, if you want to sponsor us for shouting out Unsolved Mysteries, sponsor us. If there's this one also comes to mind, what's the worst nightmare you've ever had? We were just talking about nightmares.
You know what? I try to like repress those deep in my psyche. I'm not gonna be able to tell you.
I have one that it's kind of funny, and I think I've told you. A lot of people know about this nightmare. Is when I was about 5 years old, I had a dream where I walked into my parents' room to say good morning, and they were Kermit the Frog. And then I walked over to my grandma's.
That's
I walked
right.
over to my grandma's house, and she was Kermit the Frog.
That is
and
terrifying.
Everyone in my life that I knew was Kermit the Frog, and the dream ended with me looking into a pond, and I was
Kermit the Frog.
And let me tell you, as a child, that terrified me to the point where it wasn't until the new Muppets reboot that came out like in 2012 came out, and I finally got over my fear of Kermit the Frog.
Oh God,
it
that's
wasn't
hilarious.
until I was like 14 years old where I was like, you know what? Maybe Kermit's not as bad as I thought he was. And he was just. I even have. Hold up, where is he? Oh, you can't see him. I have a Kermit puppet back there.
Yeah, I've seen him.
But yeah, that's just a funny nightmare. I don't think I've had a lot of like nightmares, like genuine fear nightmares.
I've had a few.
I did
nightmares,
have.
but
I guess this will. You can't tell me because you don't remember.
I can't. No, I just can't remember what they're about. I know that I've had them.
I did have one of these, like, I don't know if this would be considered a supernatural, because once again, like, I did have a nightmare one time where I was being attacked by something, and I woke up with, like, scratch marks here. But like I said, I don't know.
Probably yourself.
Yeah, it could be that I was just, once again, I don't know. But moving on to our final 2 questions. These are very, very quick ones. First off, werewolf, zombies, or vampires?
Vampires.
Werewolves. I love werewolves, bro. You got an American Werewolf in London. You got all these cool werewolves. We're going to ignore the Twilight one.
Let's just agree for both of our choices that Twilight doesn't exist.
Twilight does not exist in the context of this. Mind you, if you like Twilight, kudos to you. Because, I'm going to put me and Thono on blast here. We both read the books. We read the books.
I read them.
We thought it would make us cooler. We thought it would make us more attractive to women. But
right.
I mean, I had some. That's where my experience talking to girls came from talking about Twilight. But
exactly.
I just think werewolves are cool, man. Mind you, I like the type of werewolf where it's like the man beast werewolf. Like I don't like the Twilight werewolf where it's them turning into wolves. I like the American Werewolf and London Werewolf where it's like half werewolf, half beast sort of thing.
Yeah.
And our final question here, pretty simple. What's your favorite season of American Horror Story?
The first one.
You cut out for me, but I think I heard you say the first one.
The first one.
Okay, mine's the second.
I
I
like
know.
the first one. I
Think
thought it
American
peaked.
Story has some solid seasons. I just, like I
Oh, it
said, the
definitely
second one
does.
stood out to me. But
It definitely has some solid seasons, but I just think that the first one like hit lightning in a bottle.
baby, you're like lightning. Sorry. Um, did I send you? Oh, I didn't send you. I'll tell you about it after the podcast. But speaking of the podcast, that's gonna be all the time that we have today. Don, is there any last Halloween spooky things you want to throw in there
I just
before the
remember,
plug?
just remember, everyone asks where's Mario, not how's Luigi. I've been holding that one for so long.
Trying to picture that one. But yes, as always, now this is going to be the part of the podcast called the plug, where we kind of just talk about anything we want to talk about or plug any of our things we want to plug. So Tono, as always, as our honorable Stitch, hit us off.
I mean, I really don't have any much to plug. I've been real busy with work, so I haven't been able to take anything off the ground. Forgive me for not editing the podcasts these last 2 weeks. I've been super busy. I hope you watched the last podcast. If you didn't, please watch it. It's about our top 10 horror films.
If that's the one we're posting first, then yes.
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 But the schedule should get back on track soon. I was just traveling a lot. And life's been kind of tough. But happy Halloween. I hope you guys get all the candy that you guys like. Evan, I hope you get Milky Way and that other one that you mentioned.
Three Musketeers.
Yeah,
Three
guys,
Musketeers, my guy.
Thanks for watching and listening.
Yes. I'm gonna make mine simple as always. I mean, as always, you can find me on Instagram at the Nerd Slice, Twitter at the Nerd Slice, TikTok. Follow me on Twitch. I'm almost at 100. Who knows? Maybe by the time this comes out, I'm already at 100. You never know. But yeah, other than that, I just want to say have a happy Halloween, guys. Halloween is an amazing time of the year. I hope you guys have all the spookiness. Hope you guys have that candy that you're waiting for. Hope you watch that movie. I've been slacking on my horror movies this year, but by the time you're ahead of me then, but hopefully by the time this is on air, I will have already watched Nightmare Before Christmas, Halloween, and the Halloween 2018 because I really like Halloween 2018. But other than that, stay spooky, guys, and I cannot wait to see you guys on the next podcast.